I did read somewhere on base notes, someone posted that they were told anecdotally that this was going to be one of the ones discontinued from this line next. Okay, if you didn't know this already, Guerlain have, I guess, their version of Chanel Les Exclusives or Dior's Privé collection. It is called L'Art La Matiere, and I only say that this is more their exclusive line because, let's just face it, the prices for these perfumes are in that range, definitely. 100ml bottles of these sell for around the $500 mark in Australia. What that is converted to euro or US dollars, I'm not too sure. And you can get 200ml bottles as well, which are slightly cheaper than double that. I think they're close to about $900 Australian here. So let's get that right out of the way. These are expensive perfumes, and I have 4 of them. I haven't smelled the whole line. I've tested a few here and there whenever I've passed them in the department store. There are 4 in particular that I've had the opportunity to try a bit more. I've got samples of these 4. At least 3 of these I think are very well known and some of the more popular ones in this line. I'm going to be smelling Cuir Beluga, Angelique Noire, Bois and Frenchy Lavande. Now, the Frenchy Lavande was in a different line, the Le Parisiens line, where you could find something like Derby, for instance. I'll put a picture up on screen of how it looked like. And my understanding is when this particular perfume was in that line, they were slightly cheaper than the prices they are now. So it seems like they're taking a leaf out of a brand like Serge Lutens' book, where they will move a perfume out of their regular, more affordable line, put it in different packaging, and suddenly it is much more expensive. But besides that, let's smell these one by one. I'll give you my impressions and then tell you what my favourites are. So the first one I'm going to smell is Cuir Beluga, and as the name would suggest, I would have the impression that this is a leather accord perfume somewhere in there. Now, I've already sprayed some on these tester strips so I can get the dry down, and also just spray it on for the opening. Now, what I immediately noticed with Cuir Beluga is that there is not a lot of leather happening, especially in the opening. What I do smell is vanilla. Vanilla is prominent, and when it does eventually dry down, it sort of starts to get a little bit powdery, and I think that powderiness is definitely something like heliotrope, which is a note that is familiar and recognizable when you know that it's in other perfumes. It does provide that slightly almondy powderiness as well. And really, it takes a while for me to actually smell anything that even resembles, if anything, it's going to resemble a soft, furry suede accord, very soft. In like I'm talking Hermes Cuir d'Ange type suede. It's very delicate. It's not the strong, bold leathers that you might find in something like Tuscan leather from Tom Ford. So overall, even though Cuir Beluga is a very nicely put together perfume, it would be disappointing to test this expecting to find Guerlain's take on a powdery leather because it's probably a bit too much powder and sweetness and not enough leather for me. I know this also has a lot of fans, but it on first impression, I'm a little bit, and I smelled this a long time ago, I'm a little bit underwhelmed with Cuir Beluga. Now, the next one I want to move on to is Angelique Noire. And I will say right from the top that having smelled all of these previously, this remains my favourite from this particular line. And smelling this today, testing it, has really not changed my mind. On the thing I love about this perfume is that it opens up, it almost, to my nose, opens up as a fresh green perfume with a tiny hint of spice. And the vanilla is definitely there in the base, but the vanilla never wants to become the leading character of this particular perfume movie. As it dries down, it's almost as if the vanilla is embracing the green from the Angelica root or the Angelica seed here, and it forms a perfect union. And then they incorporate right in the heart something that I'd never noticed before is this beautiful, soft, delicate white floral, probably something like jasmine. It is the most, I think, of these four, probably the most beautifully blended perfume. Now, I should mention the perfumers for each of these. Each of these perfumes were created by a different perfumer for Guerlain, as opposed to doing the usual thing with a regular line of perfumes where they use their house perfumer. So I'll be putting the names of each perfumer up on the screen. So the next one I want to talk about is Bois d'Armani, and this one is based on, it's based on the foundation and the showcasing of benzoin as a material. And to me, it really demonstrates how beautiful and how it differentiates to something like a vanilla, because a lot of times in perfumes, to my nose, benzoin is difficult to distinguish from a vanilla note. They're both used in a lot of amber accords, sometimes together, sometimes separately. But when you smell Bois d'Armani, you see it play with other notes like incense, and there is lovely musk in here. There is a woody balsamicness about this perfume that really reminds me. It is a faithful perfume reproduction, I think, of the incense papers, Papier d'Armani, which you can buy from a couple of different places. I've tried some from Santa Maria Novella. Bois d'Armani has, to me, a real, I don't want to say churchy, it's not a churchy vibe. It really reminds me of some imaginary, well-kept, centuries-old wooden mansion, like big, tall ceilings, wood paneling everywhere, the floors varnished, and have untold stories of all the people that have tread on the floorboards. And that kind of soul that's in the air of it, that can only ever be experienced in an abstract manner. I really enjoy the way that Bois d'Armani evokes a a time and a place, a specific time and a place that doesn't necessarily exist in the real life, but it's certainly one that lets your imagination play. It's probably more than any of the four that I'm going to talk about. So the final one, Frenchy Lavande, is, as I said, a renamed Le Frenchy, and this on paper, well, not on paper, when I look at the note pyramid and on face value, it would seem that this is a pretty straightforward citrus cologne style perfume. But even now, I haven't put this up to my nose. It is simply, I know this might be a bit, might sound like a bit of hyperbole, but it's one of the best citrus openings that I've ever put my nose to. And the really pleasing thing about this, it doesn't seem to behave like a lot of perfumes in this style and just disappear after minutes. It's definitely got something substantial in the middle and the base that allows it to hold on to those notes. There's a seamless transition from tart citrus notes into a more floral, white, floral neroli style note, and then again seamlessly into the dry down where it gets a little bit woody, and there is some very, very smooth vetiver notes in here, and an overall, for want of a better word, an overall cloud of muskiness that's holding it all together. And in terms of uniqueness of smell, it is not by any means, because you will smell this and you might be reminded of things like Dior's Eau Sauvage or even Chanel's Pour Monsieur. The lavender in here is in the background, but it also exists to really hold up all those other notes and put some color into them. So I was really kind of taken aback by how much I liked this one. Then I thought about how much it costs, and this is the struggle of perfume enthusiasts, because I love this and I think, well, there's stuff that smells similar to this that's a tenth of the price of what this would cost, but then the value you place on something you love is as individual as anything else. So I have to say that of the four here, I'll rank. I know I've sort of gone on about Frenchy Lavande a bit, but I still smell Angelique Noire, and I'm kind of really just a bit blown away by how much I like this and how good of a composition I think this is from Daniela Andrea. Frenchy Lavande would be my second choice, followed closely by Bois d'Armani. I think Bois d'Armani is not something that I would wear as often as I'd wear those first two. And when I smell Cuir Beluga, it is a lovely perfume, just not something that excites me a hell of a lot. One final thing that I want to mention is that, in particular, well, Bois d'Armani, of the four here, I did read somewhere on Base Notes, someone posted that they were told anecdotally that this was going to be one of the ones discontinued from this line next. I know Guerlain have already discontinued, I think, what I thought was a popular Tonka Imperial. Bois d'Armani seems to be next, and this was also confirmed by the sales associate at my department store that stocks this line. So if you love Bois d'Armani, I would suggest maybe making sure that you're not going to run out of it before it's gone forever. But for me, The ones on my wish list are Angelique Noire and Frenchy Lavande. I will be saving up for quite a while for these, but eventually I'll get them. I'll look for a partial or bigger decants. I don't care because they smell fantastic. I hope you found that of some use, and let me know in the comments what your favourite from this particular line is, and I will see you all very soon for the next video. Bye for now.